Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, this channel is all about helping you master English faster and more effectively. Today, I have something really special for you. I'm going to share an incredible true story about someone who went from barely speaking English to landing their dream job in just 6 months. Now, I know what you're thinking. 6 months? That's impossible. But I promise you, by the end of this story, you'll not only believe it's possible, but you'll have a clear roadmap for your own English journey. This isn't about magic tricks or secret formulas. It's about smart strategies, consistency, and the power of believing in yourself. The person in this story faced the same challenges you're probably facing right now. Fear of speaking, grammar, confusion, and feeling stuck at the intermediate level. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let me tell you Maria's amazing story. And hey, if this story inspires you, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more English learning content that actually works. Ready? Let's dive in. Chapter 1, The Beginning of My Journey. My name is Maria, and 6 months ago, I could barely say, "Hello, how are you?" in English. Today, I'm writing this story in English, and I can speak confidently with native speakers. Let me tell you how I did it, because if I can do it, so can you. It all started when I got a job offer from an international company in my city. The salary was 3 times more than my current job. But there was one big problem. I needed to speak English fluently. The manager told me, "Maria, you have 6 months to improve your English. If you can pass our English test, after 6 months, the job is yours." I felt excited and terrified at the same time. 6 months seemed like a long time, but also very short. I had studied English in school for many years, but I never really used it. I could read simple texts and understand basic grammar, but speaking? That was my biggest fear. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the opportunity and the challenge ahead of me. I decided that I would do whatever it takes to learn English in 6 months. I didn't know how, but I knew I had to try. Chapter 2, My First Mistakes and Discoveries. The next morning, I bought every English book I could find. Grammar books, vocabulary books, test preparation books. My desk looked like a small library. I thought that if I studied hard enough, I would learn English quickly. For the first 2 weeks, I spent 4 hours every day reading grammar rules and memorizing word lists. I learned about present perfect tense, past continuous, and conditional sentences. I memorized hundreds of new words. I felt like I was making progress, but then something happened that changed everything. I met my neighbor Sarah, who was from Canada, in the elevator. She said, "Hi Maria, how's your English learning going?" I froze. All those grammar rules disappeared from my mind. I wanted to say, "It's going well, thank you for asking," but what came out was, good, very, learning, yes. Sarah smiled politely, but I could see the confusion in her eyes. That moment was both embarrassing and enlightening. I realized that knowing grammar rules and vocabulary was not enough. I needed to practice speaking, listening, and thinking in English. I needed to change my approach completely. Chapter 3, Finding My Method. After my embarrassing encounter with Sarah, I spent the whole weekend researching different ways to learn English. I read blogs, watched YouTube videos, and talked to people online who had successfully learned English as adults. I discovered something interesting. The most successful English learners didn't just study English, they lived English. They surrounded themselves with the language every day in many different ways. I decided to create my own English environment. This is what I did. Morning routine, 30 minutes. Morning. Instead of checking social media in my native language, I started my day with English.com. I listened to English news podcasts while having breakfast. At first, I understood maybe 20% of what they said, but I didn't give up. Work commute, 1 hour total. During my 30-minute commute to work, I listened to English audiobooks and podcasts. On the way back home, I practiced speaking by describing my day out loud in English. Yes, people on the bus probably thought I was crazy, but I didn't care. Lunch break, learning 30 minutes instead of scrolling through my phone during lunch. I used language learning apps. But not just for vocabulary, I focused on apps that made me speak and listen. Evening entertainment, 2 hours. This was the biggest change. Instead of watching TV shows in my language, I started watching English shows with English subtitles. At first, I chose simple shows like sitcoms because they use everyday language. Later, I moved to documentaries and dramas. Weekend intensive, 4 hours each day. On weekends, I dedicated more time to active practice. I found conversation partners online, wrote in English journals, and even started thinking in English. Chapter 4. The breakthrough moment. After 6 weeks of this routine, I was getting frustrated. I could understand more, and my vocabulary was growing, but I still felt uncomfortable speaking. I was afraid of making mistakes, so I spoke very slowly and carefully. Then came my breakthrough moment. I was at a coffee shop, and the person in front of me was a tourist who couldn't speak my language. The barista didn't speak English well either. The tourist looked confused and frustrated. Without thinking, I stepped forward and said, "Excuse me, can I help you?" The tourist's face lit up. For the next 10 minutes, I helped him order coffee, gave him directions to the museum, and recommended good restaurants in the area. When he left, he said, "Thank you so much. Your English is excellent." I was shocked. Excellent. Me. But then I realized what had happened. When I stopped worrying about making mistakes and focused on helping someone, English just flowed naturally. That day, I learned the most important lesson of my English journey. Communication is more important than perfection. Chapter 5. Accelerating my progress with my new confidence. I became more adventurous with my English practice. I started doing things that scared me before. Joining English conversation groups, I found a local group that met every Tuesday evening. The first time I went, I was so nervous that my hands were shaking. But everyone was very supportive. We talked about everything: movies, food, travel, dreams. It was amazing to realize that I could express my thoughts and opinions in another language. Changing my phone and computer language, this might sound small, but it made a huge difference. When my phone and computer were in English, I was forced to think in English many times throughout the day. Reading English books, I started with simple novels, then moved to more complex books. Reading helped me understand how English really works. Not just grammar rules, but how native speakers actually use the language. Writing English diary, every night I wrote about my day in English. At first, my entries were very simple. Today, I went to work. I had lunch with my colleague. The weather was nice, but gradually, they became more detailed and emotional. Practicing with my neighbor Sarah, remember Sarah from the elevator? After my breakthrough at the coffee shop, I got brave enough to ask her if she could help me practice English. She was delighted to help. We started having coffee together once a week, and she became not just my English practice partner, but a real friend. Chapter 6. Overcoming the challenges. Learning English in 6 months wasn't easy. There were many moments when I wanted to give up. Let me tell you about the biggest challenges I faced and how I overcame them. The plateau phase, month 3, in the 3rd month. I felt like I wasn't improving anymore. I could have basic conversations, but I couldn't express complex ideas. I felt stuck. Sarah told me this was normal. She called it the intermediate plateau. She advised me to push through by challenging myself with more difficult content. So I started watching English news and reading newspapers. Grammar, confusion, English grammar sometimes seemed impossible. Why do we say, I'm interested in music, but I'm good at music? Why, I've been living here for 5 years, instead of, I live here for 5 years. Instead of trying to memorize all the rules, I started paying attention to patterns in the English I heard and read every day. Pronunciation problems. Some English sounds don't exist in my native language. I struggled with sounds, R and L sounds, and word stress. I spent extra time practicing these with YouTube videos and pronunciation apps. I also recorded myself speaking and compared it to native speakers. Fear of making mistakes. This was my biggest enemy. I was so afraid of saying something wrong that I often said nothing at all. The breakthrough at the coffee shop helped, but I still struggled with this fear. Sarah gave me great advice. Every mistake is a step toward fluency. Native speakers make mistakes too. Chapter 7. The big day. The day of the interview arrived. I woke up early, had my usual English podcast breakfast, and gave myself a pep talk in English in the mirror. You can do this. Maria, you've worked hard for 6 months. Trust yourself. The interview started with small talk. How are you today, Maria? I'm doing very well, thank you. I'm excited to be here and learn more about this opportunity. My voice was steady, and I felt proud of how natural that sounded. I could explain my work experience and discuss industry trends. When I didn't know a specific word, I found other ways to express the same idea. The casual conversation was actually the most enjoyable part. We talked about hobbies, travel, and what it's like working in an international environment. I felt like I was just having a friendly chat, not a job interview. When the interview ended, the hiring manager said, Maria, your English has improved tremendously. We're very impressed with your dedication and progress. Chapter 9. The results and reflection. 3 days later, I got the call. I got the job. But more than that, I had achieved something I never thought possible 6 months earlier. I had become comfortable communicating in English. Looking back on those 6 months, I realized that learning English changed more than just my language skills. It changed my confidence, my perspective, and my opportunities. Having a clear goal, getting the job, and a deadline, 6 months, kept me focused and motivated, even when learning got difficult. Chapter 10. My new life. 6 months have passed since I started my new job. My English continues to improve every day because I use it constantly at work. I attend international meetings, write reports, and even train new employees. My colleagues often ask me, how did you learn English so quickly? And I always tell them the same thing. I didn't just study English, I lived English. She said to me, Maria, I hope I can speak English like you someday. I smiled and replied, if I can do it, so can you. You don't need perfect conditions to start. You don't need expensive courses or lots of free time. You just need to begin, be consistent, and trust the process. Your 6-month journey can start today. What will your English story be? Maria's story shows us that big changes are possible in a short time. The key takeaways from Maria's journey are: consistency beats intensity every single time. Create an English environment at home. Start speaking from day one, even if you make mistakes. Find your community of practice partners. Focus on communication, not perfection. Remember, your English success story is waiting to be written. The only question is, when will you start writing it? Until next time, keep practicing, keep believing in yourself, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now. Don't forget to like this video if it inspired you and subscribe for more real English learning strategies that actually work.